days at the stick. From who's got it better than us to brick by brick. It's always the 49ers way, from off-season to game day. Yeah, we talk back. It's the 49ers Cutback.
It's 49ers Cutback Podcast time. Welcome to the 49ers versus Atlanta Falcons game plan video. We're going to go over how we expect the 49ers to attack the Atlanta Falcons on offense and defense, and where they can be successful and where they might struggle as well.
Absolutely. I mean, all of these things are important. It's important for fan base to have a solid idea of what's going on, but also for us to kind of look at this because we've been watching a lot of the film. We've been looking at what this Atlanta Falcon team does well. What their strengths are, where their weaknesses are, and where they're having some issues. And one of the areas they're having issues is defensively. With Dante Fowler potentially out and not playing, their safety, Eric Harris, being injured, their starting safety, not being out on the football field. This now opens up their secondary in areas that wasn't open before, and it was already pretty questionable, to say the least. We'll call it questionable. Had they had their moments and had some opportunities this year? Absolutely. Last week against the Carolina Panthers, they took advantage of a limited Cam Newton in terms of his arm strength and consistency throwing the football, and we were able to get some picks, and including, I think, a big pick six. They got them some points on the board and really turned the tide and momentum of that football game and really put them ahead. However, that was a big blunder from Cam Newton, and what has Cam Newton been doing the last few years? And he's been blundering. He's been making those types of mistakes. Jimmy Garoppolo is known and has shown that he can do those things. However, the second half of the season has been a lot more of the 2017 version of Jimmy Garoppolo that we saw with the auras around him. He's slinging the ball, making incredible throws, pushing the ball downfield. It's been more of that and much less of a blundering Jimmy Garoppolo making very crucial errors. Has he made them? Yes, but he's been cleaning them up. And he understands how important this game is for the 49ers, and he thrives under pressure. That's just something that Jimmy Garoppolo does. So the 49ers are going to have to try and find ways to attack the middle of this field. And the good news is, Ant, this linebacking core will suck up and play the run.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest part, is watching the film, the understanding of what this Atlanta Falcons team is going to give you and the strengths that the 49ers have kind of work out, well for each other. Well, for the 49ers' sake. Not so much for Atlanta, because Atlanta's linebackers have to commit to the run in a big way. They have to come forward. They have to try to stop the run by any means necessary. And when they do, they leave a huge opening between them and the secondary, because the secondary is not the best. And so what they have to do is they have to play off a lot of times, and they're really not willing to come up and play these guys tough. I'm curious how they react to the 49ers, though. Knowing the 49ers want to attack the middle of the field, will this Atlanta Falcons team suck up and give the 49ers opportunities to get the ball down the field? It's going to be an interesting matchup. I think that there are going to be nice avenues for Jimmy Garoppolo to get the ball out to his playmakers and have them make plays. You watch the game preview show, that I believe the 49ers are going to absolutely eat them alive in the middle of the field, and that Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, and George Kittle are going to go off for big games. And this is going to be one of those ones where the 49ers can get clicking on all cylinders, and this offense can really execute at a high level. But that's going to be the key, is making sure that you keep this run game where at least Atlanta believes that you're going to go to it. It doesn't have to be real successful in this game. It needs to have some success, but it just needs to keep them honest. They need to keep playing the run game, and if they do, Jimmy will be able to attack behind it. If any time this run game doesn't feel like it is going to be successful against this Atlanta Falcons defense, then the Falcons, can change the way they play defense. The linebackers can sag a little bit. Those safeties can creep up into the box, and they can really cause Jimmy Garoppolo problems over the middle. I don't foresee that as an issue. I think they'll be able to get this run game going, but I do think this is another week where the pass will set up the run. I think they will use the run in certain situations to keep Atlanta honest, and they will attack through the pass.
As of this point in time, right, as we're doing this here, as we're setting this up and putting this out there for you, Elijah Mitchell's status is still questionable. It's up in the air.
Yeah.
We don't really know, if he's going to be there, if he's going to be available. And even if he gets cleared, how much are you really wanting to utilize this guy? Because this might be a week, Ant, like you just talked about, where you don't really have to. You can utilize the pass a little bit more. And last week you showed a combination of Deebo Samuel and Jeff Wilson Jr. can get it done in the run game. Both guys averaged over 4 yards a carry. I think Deebo was 4.8 is what I believe it was. So, 8 carries for Deebo, 12 for Jeff Wilson Jr. sprinkle in some Hasty, or you sprinkle in someone else, BA, George Kittle on a handful of carries, and you have yourself enough of a run game that should be able to get you enough yards to keep teams honest, and will also keep them honest in very unique ways. We've seen nothing but Deebo Samuel running the football out of the backfield. I can see a week right now where Kyle Shanahan's licking his chops going, I've seen how much you suck up in the run game. I see how much you flow in this run game, trying to do some things. We saw on the All-22 film against the Bengals that we broke down the All-22 highlight on Patreon, right? That last drive, not the last drive, but the Deebo Samuel touchdown run at the very beginning of that All-22 highlight film. How they're setting up something, Ant. There's a wash coming through there, and BA is playing it a certain way because they're giving a certain look, and it may set up an eventual play action look out of this where BA is breaking on a corner route wide open because safeties are flowing with Deebo. You pull Tom Compton and give the look like you're running the sweep pass on the outside, and they can come back across and find him for a big play. This could be the week where you start seeing a little more play action out of those situations and allowing the 49ers to pass out of these formations with Deebo Samuel in the backfield giving a run look.
Yeah, 100%. Deebo is freezing everyone's attention. When Deebo goes in motion, all eyes go with Deebo. When Deebo freezes out in the flats, everyone's eyes are on him. They were definitely putting a player on him, the Bengals were. I mean, if he went, there was a defender standing right next to him. So he's going to garner and draw a lot of attention, and using him in that manner helps the team out. You want to know why George Kittle has been coming on the scene in a big way? That's because they're putting some focus onto Deebo Samuel, and then Brandon Ayuk is going to have success as well. What I think is going to be hard is picking your poison, because if they come into this game, Atlanta does, and tries to take away George Kittle because he's had the big games recently, Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel are going to eat. They're going to go off, and they're going to be able to execute the plays that they want to, and they're really dynamic when you get the ball in their hands, in motion, moving upfield in a nice manner. And I think that you can find windows to give them the ball. So RPOs are a part of the game this week. You get RPOs going, you get this linebacker group flowing, whether that's to the side or flowing forward, and then you're able to execute these slants and little quick in routes to these wide receivers and let them run. I think this is a week you can also take advantage of the smoke screen. Atlanta did not want to dedicate an extra defender to those situations.
Not until they made Cam do it. And as soon as Cam did it last week, then they're like, fine, we'll put another guy. And even then, right, we saw them run like a dual stack look, right? And you see that in the All-22. You saw that in the All-22 yesterday. If you missed the All-20, the Know Your Opponent All-22 sneak peek, yesterday's video, then you missed out on them literally running a stack. And when they actually bring the guys over, it's one guy at the line of scrimmage and one guy like 10 yards deep. It's an odd way to play.
Yeah, I mean, easily get the ball out there. And when you were running bunch sets, they didn't even dedicate 3 guys to it.
No.
You can get the ball out in space. You got Jawan Jennings and those guys that are really good blockers, and they can go out and handle business. If you put Jennings and George Kittle in front of somebody like Brandon Ayuk or Deebo Samuel, and you get them the ball quickly in a screen, they can execute and they can take advantage of that situation. So what you've seen from Atlanta was a lot of timidness, afraid to make a mistake. So they would play the secondary deep. The linebackers would, be very aggressive, trying to stop the run because they don't want to dedicate an 8th guy to the box. All these situations are good for the 49ers. And I think that the Atlanta Falcons are going to have to blitz. They're going to have to take chances. And when they do, the 49ers have to execute and take advantage of those chances.
100%, whether it's screens, whether it's little play action stuff, it doesn't matter what it is. The 49ers need to find a way to capitalize when the Atlanta Falcons inevitably make a mistake, because they will. They will at some point in time. They have on the last few films that I've watched of theirs. And Kyle Juszczyk is another guy who could very well be utilized in a very big way, in a big role, especially if play action stuff is working early and those RPO looks are going at. He's had success slipping out onto little routes and things of that nature. This could be a week where Kyle Juszczyk gets a couple of big catches down the sideline on some wheel routes, working over the middle and sneaking through on an RPO, because maybe they set up a bubble screen RPO look with Kittle or Deebo or something like that on the space, and it's Juszczyk and Jawan Jennings or someone out there that slips out underneath. Juszczyk is definitely a guy to keep an eye on if you're a Falcons fan. And if you're a 49ers fan, you should want it, because Kyle Juszczyk getting involved in the offense early and making big, impactful plays for the 49ers means more attention having to be paid to Kyle Juszczyk. And if more attention is being paid to Kyle Juszczyk, well, it's got to give somewhere else. So who's now eating? Is it George? Is it Brandon? Is it Deebo? Is it Jeff Wilson? Who knows? It's going to be somebody. Someone else will get to eat, because Kyle Juszczyk will open up this offense even more if he's able to get a couple big ones early.
Yeah, and I think one thing to keep an eye on as well is how many times Kyle Shanahan is willing to take Kyle Juszczyk off the field. He did against the Bengals, and he went single back set and then gave the ball to Jeff Wilson Jr. running with no fullback. It's not something we see a lot from the 49ers.
That's epic.
But he did it in this situation, because when you have teams they want to bring extra guys to the line of scrimmage like the Bengals did. By putting an extra tight end or somebody on the line of scrimmage, what you do is you get an extra gap. That's an extra gap for them to have to cover. So then it negates what they're trying to do by plugging those gaps. So running with that situation can be good for the 49ers. So I'm curious if Kyle Shanahan goes to that. And if he does, what kind of success they have with it. And if they have a lot of success, I could see them finding situations where Juice is more inline. But it also, by pulling him off the field, if you put someone like Jawan Jennings on the outside, who's been proven to be a pretty good blocker, you can put them in nickel. You get them in nickel, and then you get them into a situation where you go tight, and then you have an advantage big time with your big blockers against their not so big secondary. So I'm curious if Kyle Shanahan keeps taking advantage of that, or if that was a one-off against Cincinnati. But I'm going to be watching for that in this game.
Do you think it was partially because Kyle Juszczyk was such a focal point for the Seahawks? I mean, their eyes were on Kyle a lot in that previous game, right? In that Week 13 matchup, Kyle Juszczyk was a read key for a lot of those guys. And it seemed like at times, based on sets and formations, downs, distances, hash mark or whatever, they would look at Juszczyk and flow with him, or look at Juszczyk and flow opposite at times. Bobby Wagner was really dialed in that game, playing phenomenally. Do you think Kyle was trying to maybe maybe there's something people are noticing with Kyle and how I'm using him, so get him off the field, take that read key away, and now let's run at you?
I mean, it could be. But my thought process would be, as a play caller, would to keep him on the field and then use him to go opposite of the play. You want to get their eyes going the wrong direction, or to freeze, with him. Whenever you have somebody that's drawing a lot of attention, that is a good thing for you, because Absolutely. Then their eyes are willing to go that way, or even for a split second, right? They're going to take a peek to see where he's at. That split second could be the difference between, a big play and a play that gets stopped for no gain. I think that it was just a situation they're looking for an extra gap. You put the extra guy up there, you find the extra gap. It's a little bit different blocking style.
Because it was a box of Bengals?
Yeah, there was definitely a box of Bengals, and that's the key, right? You just got to be able to overcome that loaded box that they see every single week. Can Atlanta do that, though? I don't think Atlanta's secondary is good enough to load the box and bring an extra safety in and think that they can win on the outside, because Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, and now Jawan Jennings, especially George Kittle, are bad matchups for every single person in their secondary. It's not one of those situations where they have a guy that can go out there and cover and handle business. I mean, the Bengals did, but these guys don't.
No. No. Grady Jarrett is about the only name other than Dante Fowler that I am very familiar with on that defense in terms of a real understanding of who they are as a player, what their strengths are. And even Grady Jarrett, as good as he is against the pass, he is not as great against the run. I mean, it's not his biggest strength as a defensive lineman. And Dante Fowler potentially being out, no Eric Harris. I mean, you're going to be rolling with some inexperienced safeties back there if you're the Atlanta Falcons. And what have we seen a lot from the 49ers, right? One of the best parts about the 49ers and why they've been able to get so much done with 7 is not just the front. It's the occasions where you get to bring a safety down in the box at those times. Teams don't want to run against an 8-man box of the 49ers with Jaquiski Tartar, Jimmy Ward coming down in space, because they feel so great. They take away so many things. Richie Grant is not that guy. He's the rookie safety from UCF that's playing back there. He's not that. He's a rookie safety. There's going to be plenty of opportunities for Kyle Shanahan to scheme up and get him going the wrong direction, or get his eyes flowing the wrong direction. Or if you're just straight dropping back and passing and you find yourself in a situation where it's Richie Grant one-on-one with George Kittle, take the shot, Jimmy. Take the freaking shot. Go put the ball in space and let George go make a play. Let Deebo go make plays. Let BA go make plays. The nice thing about rookie safeties, is that you tend to be less capable of doing something that Jimmy Garoppolo has struggled with, which is disguising your coverages, because they're not as good with the timing in terms of getting back and forth. When am I supposed to show? When do I need to get back? How can I properly, make this look like cover 4 when we're really running 1 or 2 or whatever it is. So that's the good news for Jimmy Garoppolo. It's not going to be as difficult to potentially read the defense and how they're trying to disguise their coverages and looks. But yeah, I agree with you. I don't know if they have the pieces necessary to be able to get into the box and disrupt the Niners run game. I don't see it.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the pick your poison situation. They can take one. They might be able to take one thing away if they dedicate a lot of their attention to it. However, you can't take it both away. And the way the 49ers are playing right now, the Cincinnati Bengals were a very good foe for the Niners to go against to prepare for the Atlanta Falcons, because they were a little bit better in almost all the situations. I think this is going to be very good for the 49ers. I look for their offense to get rolling and clicking early, and I think that they're going to use the pass to set up the run. And once this run game starts rolling, they might just roll right over the Atlanta Falcons, because I think that they're not going to be willing to, put that eighth guy in the box. And when they do, Kyle Shanahan can go right after them again with another big shot. And these playmakers that the 49ers have on the outside, get them the ball in their hands with a little bit of space, and they might be able to house call it. So I'm looking forward to the Yak brothers getting after it this week, especially.
It's going to be a big week for the Yak brothers. I think you and I both believe this is going to be a game that, again, predicates on the pass before the run. And that means big games from your receivers and Jimmy Garoppolo needing to take care of the football and not blunder. Don't make those mistakes. Don't do that. Don't do it, Jimmy. Just take care of the football. Keep making sound decisions. Keep playing with that confidence. And maybe Kyle, you talked about him in 2-minute situations, how he tends to operate better. Maybe if that's the case, give him some of those early. Let him get into a rhythm early. Go no huddle, get up to the ball quick, and run some plays and put the pressure on Atlanta.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if you don't see Deebo Samuel get the ball in the first play. I think the first play is going to Deebo Samuel. I think it'll be out of the backfield as well. I wouldn't even be surprised if it's not a play action, so it'll look like it's going to Deebo Samuel. But something with Deebo involved in the first play, to me, would make the most sense for this game.
Agreed with you, especially with Elijah Mitchell's status up in the air and, teams just being prepared for that 49ers toss and on first down on the very first drive, the first snap of the game for the 49ers offense. But defensively, saw some good things last week, saw some bad. Saw the defense stepping up late, saw the line continuing to put pressure on quarterbacks. And you have a situation this week with a very suspect O-line in the Atlanta Falcons, a very immobile quarterback in Matt Ryan, and a D-line for the Niners that is hungry, that is playing some of its best football late in the season, that has found the right formula with their front four and what guys need to be going in when, in what groupings and pairings. And whether it's Kevin Givens and Kentavious Street, it's Kevin Givens and DJ Jones, Kentavious Street and Eric Armstead, Samson Ebukam and Nick Bosa, Arden Key playing on the outside or Arden Key coming in on the inside, Charles Omenihu, Jordan Willis. All of these guys have had major plays in the last 3 weeks. Literally all of them. Every single guy has, which is absolutely insane that every single one of these guys has made a major play that has impacted the game in a positive way for the 49ers each and every week. Kaceric's got this group dialed in. D'Amico Ryans has schemed it up very, very well early in football games. If he can continue to keep Matt Ryan guessing into late second quarter in terms of what he's seeing with his eyes and holding on to this football, this thing could snowball out of control for Atlanta.
Yeah, I think so. 49ers are not going to reinvent the wheel on how they protect their defensive backs. It really doesn't matter who's starting at that left corner position, because you know that you're going to have to add help when Kyle Pitts is out there. If you get a one-on-one situation, if it's Deommodore Lenoir, DJ, or even Ambry Thomas, you're going to have a situation where you're going to probably have to give help at times. You're going to need to locate Cordero Patterson, and then you just got to make sure that Josh Norman doesn't get too many penalties on the outside. And one of the ways you make sure he doesn't have that is if he has over-the-top help. He's not grabby. He doesn't pull and stuff when he has help. When he's one-on-one, that's when he does it. When I want to see him doing the pulling and the grabbing and all that is when he's on Kyle Pitts, because he's a big target. You're not going to get as many calls and penalties on him because he's so big. Right or wrong, that's just how the NFL works. But I think the 49ers have a good chance to take away read one. And if they do, they can really get after it. This defensive line is fantastic at getting after the quarterback, and Matt Ryan's a stationary target. You might as well, get after him in every stunt possible, because he's not going to take off running. You don't have to worry about, lane integrity this week. If he happened to step up in the pocket and take off, that is a good situation for you. Everyone can close on him in a hurry. Every single defensive lineman on this football team can run him down from behind. In fact, I don't think there's a football player on the field that can't run him down from behind. So
that's bold.
It's accurate, and it's nothing against him. It's just that's not who he is. But the 49ers need to get him off his spot early. They need to make him feel uncomfortable, and when and if they do, he will throw errant passes. There will be opportunities for the 49ers to make plays, and when those come, you need to take advantage of them. You need to make sure you execute and get the ball turned over, so that way you can get the ball back in your offense's hands and your offense can go dominate again.
Matt Ryan is one of those guys who, streaky, I guess is the right word. When he has time and is completing passes, he gets hot in a hurry, and he'll start rolling. He's shown that this year. He's also shown that if you get after him and he makes a mistake, it can snowball out of control. And last week against Carolina is a perfect example of what you just said. He had 3 or 4 passes in the first 2 drives of that football game that should have been picked. and weren't. They
Yeah.
were not intercepted. And the Atlanta Falcons offense was able to go down the field and put up points. And then get a big turnover, pick six for themselves. And all of a sudden, what was a 7-7, 14-7 game at one point was now 21-7. And Panthers are going, wait, how did we get here? How did this happen? What in the world? So if you're the 49ers, number one, you have one of the best D coordinators at disguising coverages in the league in DeMeco Ryans. He's shown that consistently each and every game the Niners have played, whether it's Kyler Murray not knowing what's going on and struggling early, whether it's Russell Wilson struggling early, whether it's, gosh darn it, why am I blanking on this quarterback now? Kirk Cousins and struggling a little bit later in the football game, not so much early, but later in that football game when their offense stifled a little bit and the Niners were able to kind of get some things going, especially early in that second half against the Minnesota Vikings. Listen, DeMeco has shown that he can do this to teams and to quarterbacks, especially stationary quarterbacks. And so get after him early, send some blitzes if you need to. They last week was one of the least amount of blitzing opportunities that I've seen from the 49ers. They didn't send a lot of blitzes at Joe Burrow. They wanted to keep as many guys out in coverage as humanly possible, but he timed up blitzes at the right time and he got big plays from the secondary, whether it was Talanoa Hufanga or whether it was K'Wan Williams with the Shark getting the big sack there towards the end of the football game. I think this week isn't about getting after Matt Ryan and sending a bunch of blitzes. I think it's about timing. The timing of said blitzes, when to bring that pressure, when to drop it off in coverage, and when to just kind of lay back low. But the D lines is the key. Like, they got to win on the front, and Fred Warner and Azeez Al-Shaair have to do a good job of covering out in space. And you know what? When you force a guy to check down in space or take the underneath route, get to the guy, wrap him up, bring him down. Something Azeez has been inconsistent with this year. He had a couple last week against the Bengals where he had opportunities to bring a guy down for no gain or very minimal amount of game and help the Niners get off the football field or get closer to getting off the football field, and he missed on a couple of those. So coverage-wise, linebackers, make sure we make those plays, because if we do, you're really putting the pressure on Matt Ryan to, hey, you're not going to be able to just throw the ball underneath and get bailed out by your talent being talented and being athletic. You're going to have to make some plays, and you're going to have to do that with hands in your face and taking shots.
Yeah, take away the sweeps too by Cordero Patterson.
Absolutely.
That is something they want to do. They want to be able to get on the edge, the outside zone, the sweep plays, the tosses outside. Take those away. You have enough speed, you can handle it for sure. Azeez, and also Fred Warner can fly sideline to sideline. And those are situations that you like. Now, a situation that I'd really love is for the 49ers to be able to play nickel against, even when Atlanta wants to put them in a base set. Because then you have an extra DB out there to cover these wide receivers and cover Kyle Pitts. I think that those are situations also that the 49ers want to be in, but you have to prove that you can stop them with the front seven. And if they can stop them with the front seven and they can keep these safeties back like they were doing against the Bengals, that's not good for Atlanta, because Atlanta's skilled players and Atlanta's quarterback at this point is not as good as the Cincinnati Bengals. So you need to go out there and take advantage of that. Let's see if they can do it. If they can force Cordero Patterson to try to run the ball up the middle, that is where you want him to try to live. That is where you can take advantage of him, because he's not as good at that. However, he is a weapon, so let's see how the 49ers play him. I think you would really love to see situations where Jimmy Ward is on him. However, with the play you have at the cornerback position, you need to make sure that these safeties are playing over the top, so you might see a different matchup. I wonder how many times if Cordero Patterson leaves the backfield, you see Fred Warner actually being the eraser and the one that goes to try to take him away, because Fred is the one that's most equipped with covering a guy, which means Azeez is going to have to handle the middle by himself a lot of times. So let's see what they do, but I think it'll be Fred on Cordero Patterson in those situations. And then in third down and long, that's when you'll see Jimmy Ward take him away. You'll see the more cover one looks again, where they'll have Jaquiski Tartt playing the deep middle, and then they'll have these other guys line up one-on-one, man-to-man, and let's see what happens. But I'm worried about a little bit when we get in those situations, but that's what you do when you have Matt Ryan. Those are also times when you can bring a blitz, force his hand, and make him read really quick. And as long as you get good jams at the line of scrimmage, should be okay.
Well, and if your guys have an understanding too as well of what the route concept is, where they want to attack the field, most likely, hey, in these situations, looking at this kind of concept, so there's a good chance my guy's running, one of these routes right here, then your guys are playing with an edge up. And if the pressure's coming and the blitz is going to get home, then Matt Ryan either takes the sack and eats it, or he's taking a chance, right? He's throwing one up and just praying to God it goes where it's where it needs to be. And if you're the 49ers, those are 50-50 chances. And when you have 50-50 chances for the 49ers, there's two ways those 50-50 chances can go in your favor. right? The bad way, obviously not in your favor. The 50 not your way is them making a big catch and a big play.
Did you just say there's two ways the 50-50 chance can go your way?
So the 50-50 is actually like a 50-25-25, man. Because you can just bat the ball away and knock it down and get off the football field, or you can turn the ball, get a turnover yourself. You prefer the turnovers in those situations because the more of those that you get, right, the more times that you punish Matt Ryan physically and with a mistake, the less he wants to take those chances and take those shots, which means now he's holding on to the football because he doesn't want to make mistakes to cost them the football game. Yes, he needs to make plays, but he can't afford to make mistakes because you're just going to dig yourself a bigger hole. So, I mean, that's the situation for the 49ers. When you put them in 50-50 chances, just come away with turnovers. Try and find a way to come up with turnovers. If you can come away with turnovers, guys playing the ball, being aggressive, going up in space, things of that nature, Matt Ryan is going to have to hold on to that football just a little bit longer to make sure he can get the throw and make the read that he wants to make. And that extra step, that extra second, is enough time for your D-line.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think the Atlanta Falcons have the offensive line to be able to handle this 49ers defense. This defensive line can rotate through with a lot of good pieces, which you mentioned earlier, and they can really get after it. And you add the fact that they can run stunts at a high level, and they can move these guys all over, means you can find mismatches and find opportunities where you can put either a big on a small or a very quick on a big. And when you get those situations, you have to take advantage of it. Armstead, DJ Jones, Arden Key, all of them have been very, very good from the interior. And if you collapse this pocket on Matt Ryan, he's not able to step into his throws, it will be a long day for him. So this is a matchup I think I could see going the 49ers' way, but they have to go out there and do it. You know, it's like with all things. You have to go out there and execute. We talk about this a lot. The 49ers don't lose when they don't turn over the football. In fact, 5-0 when they don't turn over the football in 2021, 12-1 since 2019. That is the recipe for success. You know, running the football, converting on third downs, and not turning over the ball. That it seems to be the way that you win football games. Shockingly, that's the way everyone should, win football games. That's playoff winning football. Let's see if the 49ers can get out there and do it and take away Atlanta's, chances. Atlanta has weapons.
100%.
Atlanta's a talented football team. The 49ers, though, they've handled more weapons in the past, and hopefully they can handle the Atlanta Falcons this week.
They have to, man. They need to, for the sake of the playoff race and the hunt, what you're trying to accomplish, keeping pressure on the Rams, but also separating yourself from the rest of the NFC. I mean, get that done this week. There's nothing more important than that. And it starts at home. It starts at home against this Atlanta Falcons team. The second half of the season is here. You went into the halfway point of the year at that 0-0 mark. And Kyle Shanahan kept talking about whatever it takes. We're going to win football games however they need to be won because we can. We have the pieces to win anyway. We need to throw a bunch, we can throw a bunch. We need to run a bunch, we can run a bunch. It needs to be a little mixture of both. It can be a mixture of both. We need to get to we need to go to trickery and go into the bag of tricks. We can go into the bag of tricks. And if Deebo Samuel, God willing, has to play running back, and he's going to play freaking running back and get it done if that's what it takes. Kyle Shanahan has already shown he has gone into the bag of tricks to get this offense playing at a high level. Now the 49ers need to continue playing at that level. They need to continue keeping that rhythm offensively and defensively. Just capitalize because the defensive line's been getting home all season. Nick Bosa is playing it at an incredible pace and an incredible rate. Reward yourselves, right? Treat yourself, San Francisco defense, to some turnovers. They're delicious. They help the offense. They get the offense juiced. And it gets the offense in wonderful field position. So let's see. Let's see what happens this week. It's going to be a very interesting game tomorrow. And Sundays are always fun when the 49ers are playing relevant football late in December. And that's where we're at right now. Cutback crew, let us know what you thought about the game plan video and what you think the 49ers need to do against this Atlanta Falcons team on Sunday.
I have a feeling that it's going to be run.
Fair.
And that is always good. If the 49ers get the run game going early, if that is something they decide to establish early on in this football game and it goes, they're gonna be able to dominate this game. Winning in the trenches is always a key, and that's going to be a key in this football game. But I'm excited to see what everyone thinks. If everyone thinks this is the way it's going to go, do you think it's going to be pass first, run first? Do you trust Jimmy Garoppolo to go out there and win the football game? And should Kyle Shanahan put Jimmy Garoppolo in some 2-minute situations?
Maybe he should. We want to hear from you, the Cutback crew. Oh my Lord Almighty! So make sure that you're commenting down below. Make sure you're subscribed if you have not already. Hit that like button as well. Helps the channel out in a big way, and hit that notification bell. That way you don't miss any great content coming your way. And there's plenty because we got a game reaction show post game tomorrow. We got a recap show coming out after that on a Monday, and they got a compacted, jam-packed week next weekend.
Yeah, next week is going to be absolutely exciting because we're going to put out a lot of the same amount of content, but in a shorter week. So just, take it all in. A game plan video will actually come out the day of the game, so next Thursday. So, be on the lookout. Make sure you are subscribed and hit that notification bell so you know what time everything is going to happen, because time is going to be a little bit different in the shorter week. And then after that, we're going to have hopefully 2 wins within a short period of time. And then we'll all be able to enjoy Christmas and knowing that the 49ers have, pretty much locked up their playoff spot.
I mean, if they win these 2 football games, barring anything crazy happening, I would say that they're pretty much locked in a playoff spot, whether it's the 6th seed or the 7th seed.
Yeah, depending on what happens with the football team.
Depends. Definitely depends. Yep. Eagles, take care of business this weekend as well. We'd really appreciate that. You do your thing. Cutback crew, we'll see you for the reaction show. And until then, stay safe.
Remember, the right way
is always the 49ers way.